I was one of the Native American children, adopted at birth and removed from our country's Indian reservation system. I was raised in a small middle-class farming community, but was never told of my true American Indian heritage. It was still taboo back in those early days. The years passed, and in 1987 I lost both parents. While going through their personal belongings, my wife discovered my adoption papers and she began a search. 5 years later, I was reunited with my biological Lakota family living on the Lower Brule Sioux Indian Reservation of South Dakota. I am a son of two mothers and a product of two worlds that had collided. But I have an equal amount of love and pride for both. I'm Paul LaRoche, and the stories you are about to see are an attempt to share this true American story of a hidden heritage.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Hidden Heritage. Today we're exploring a deeply spiritual and sacred tradition of the Lakota people known as the Hembleciya, or the Vision Quest. This traditional ceremony is a profound journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth, and a chance to communicate directly with Wakantanka, or the Great Spirit, or some refer to the higher power as God. As we examine this topic, I'll share both general knowledge and some personal insights about this transformative ceremony. The Vision Quest is something many indigenous cultures hold sacred, but for the Lakota and other Plains tribes, the Hembleciya is uniquely powerful. This practice connects you to the ancestors and guides us on our life's journey, and brings us closer to the Creator. I hope this episode brings you a new understanding and respect for the role it plays in the Lakota culture and in my life. The purpose of the Hembleciya goes far beyond a physical journey. It's a way to seek guidance from the spiritual realm. Traditionally, the Hembleciya has been used to mark significant life transitions, especially when young men come of age, stepping from adolescence into adulthood. But Vision Quests aren't just for the young. They are for anyone seeking direction, clarity, or spiritual connection. For those on this path, the goal is often to gain insight into their life's purpose or to seek answers to specific questions. Some seek visions to prepare for important roles in the community, like warriors, leaders, or healers. It's a way to align oneself with a greater purpose than our day-to-day concerns and connect deeply with both the past and the future. The individual spends time in prayer, meditation, and purification. A critical part of this preparation involves the inipi, or sweat lodge ceremony, where participants cleanse their bodies and spirits, offering prayers and intentions to the Creator. Preparation also involves the support of elders or a medicine person who will guide the individual. These spiritual leaders play an important role in helping participants interpret their visions and understand the journey's deeper meaning. The process emphasizes humility and readiness, as participants open themselves up to whatever guidance may come. Often, family and community members offer prayers and blessings to support the person taking the spiritual journey. Once the individual is prepared, they travel to a remote natural setting, somewhere secluded, like on the top of a bluff or a mountain, where they feel the closeness of nature. They will create a sacred circle where they'll remain for the duration of the Vision Quest. This space becomes their spiritual focal point for prayer, reflection, and open-hearted listening. Traditionally, the Vision Quest lasts from 1 to 4 days. During this time, the individual fasts, taking in no food or water. This act of fasting is more than a physical challenge. It's a way of showing commitment and humility, signaling to the spirits that they are open to receiving guidance. Prayer is central to this time. As the individual sits, prays, and meditates within the circle, the participant opens themselves to the signs from the natural world around them. Some may experience symbolic visions, while others might see animals or natural phenomena that carry spiritual significance. This openness to the unexpected is part of the beauty and power of the Hembleciya. For many individuals, visions take different forms. Sometimes they are literal, like encountering a specific animal. In Lakota culture, animals have spiritual significance. So encountering an eagle, wolf, or buffalo, for example, can offer unique guidance or strength. Each animal symbolizes specific qualities. The eagle might represent courage or connection with the Creator, while the buffalo might signify strength and resilience. Some visions involve dreams or symbols connected to the four directions or elements: earth, water, fire, and air. These symbols are deeply rooted in Lakota spirituality and can help clarify an individual's purpose or path. When participants return from the Hembleciya, they often meet with a spiritual advisor to interpret these symbols and experiences. Understanding the vision is a process, and it can take time to fully grasp its meaning. Often, the insights gained shape their path forward, and may even reveal their role within the community. Upon returning from the vision quest, participants are welcomed back by their community with honor and respect. There's a sense of transformation and renewal as they return with a deeper connection to the spiritual purpose. This journey often instills a sense of commitment to live in alignment with the insights received. This experience continues to shape the individual's life long after the vision quest itself. Many find themselves reflecting on their vision for years, revisiting the insights and lessons it offered. It's a continual journey of spiritual growth that reinforces one's identity and connection to the Creator. The Hembleciya is a sacred tradition that continues on today, though like many indigenous practices, it faces modern-day challenges. These ceremonies are often private, kept within the community to protect their sacredness and authenticity. It's important to respect this privacy and the cultural significance of the Hembleciya. Today, some tribal members adapt the tradition to modern life, but the heart of the Hembleciya remains unchanged. It's a call to connect with the spiritual realm and seek guidance from the ancestors and the Creator. Respecting these traditions and their sacred nature is crucial for those outside the culture who may wish to understand. The Hembleciya is more than a ritual. It's a transformative journey that plays a vital role in the Lakota spirituality. It connects individuals to their ancestors, nature, and the Creator, providing guidance, strength, and a deeper sense of purpose. This sacred ceremony is a reminder of the power of humility, the strength of spiritual connection, and the wisdom that comes from looking within. I'm reminded of my first Hembleciya, and I'd like to share the experience with you today. It was the summer of 2008, and we were living on the reservation in Lower Brule. I had been thinking about the ceremony for many years, and the opportunity finally came along. The Hembleciya, unlike other Lakota ceremonies, needs only yourself and an isolated setting. Moses Brings Plenty was our traditional drummer for our group Brûlé at the time, and had agreed to help me with my preparation. He had already been on several vision quests over his life, and was relatively experienced in some of the traditional ways of the Lakota. The site we picked was a bluff overlooking the Missouri River, just behind our small reservation house. In preparation, I was instructed to make 400 small tobacco ties. A tobacco tie is a small square cutout of colored cloth, about 4 inches by 4 inches in size. There were 100 of each color: red, black, yellow, and white. These 4 colors represented the 4 cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west. Each square is then filled with a small amount of tobacco and then pulled together and tied with a piece of thread at the top, making a small round pouch filled with tobacco. Moses instructed me that it's good to offer a short prayer with every tobacco tie, and he said the prayer could be of any nature that you liked. As you can imagine, this process is quite time-consuming and requires that you have some spare time to undertake the process. As it turned out, I completed my tobacco ties over the course of several weeks while we were touring on the road that summer. Once the individual ties were finished, they were tied together in groups of 25, and then tied together again in groups of 100 for each of the 4 colors. It was a little tricky trying to keep them from getting tangled up. Moses showed me that keeping them wrapped up on a spent cardboard paper towel roll worked the best, and he was right. Once everything was ready, the ties were placed or wrapped around the site of your Hembleciya. In my case, I was inside of a small sweat lodge structure that we had built that summer for sweat lodge ceremonies, but that's another story. Our lodge was about 12 feet in diameter, about 4 feet high and domed at the top. The frame was made out of young willow tree saplings and covered with a number of blankets, with a small opening or door facing the east. Once you were inside and closed the door, it was completely dark with absolutely no light getting in. A small pit was dug in the center for placing hot rocks during a sweat lodge ceremony. Once the Hembleciya began, the tobacco ties were strung continuously around the area, held up by tree branches about 4 feet off the ground. In my case, this formed a 15-foot by 15-foot square perimeter around the Hembleciya site. The tobacco ties were considered protection from the elements during the Hembleciya, which in my case was 3 days and 2 nights. It was explained to me that this worked very well in earlier times to keep out animals, crawling things, and bad spirits. That might sound a little strange, but it did work for me. Looking back on it today, the whole process is much like an extended meditation or prayer circle. It is a spiritual process that occurs in many spiritual or religious services. The one constant that remains true over time is that the solitude and the quiet allow that connection to God or the higher power. It always works, and it's there for anyone. It's just that in today's world and in these complex and fast times, it's growing more difficult to find that place of solitude and to find the time and to make the commitment. I must admit that since the Hembleciya of 2008, I haven't had the right set of circumstances to embark on a second vision quest, but I long to do it again. I was told that in days gone by, that was one of the ways how our community and tribal leaders made important decisions. The example I was given was back in the days of Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull. They would have a Hembleciya to make important decisions like when to move the tribe south or to winter camp as the cold season approached. Move too soon and the buffalo might not be available to feed the people. Move too late and many could freeze to death. These were important life-altering decisions, and they relied on the spiritual practice to get the answers. And as I was told, it always worked. Much of the insight I received is personal, and I've shared it only with my wife, Kathy. But the one thing that I have shared that was reaffirming to me in a very direct way is that I was given this help in this special life so that I, in turn, could help the younger generations in finding pride in their heritage. That was the message that I received, and I've tried to fulfill that calling ever since. Well, so now you'll probably understand why one of our last concert events was so important to me. In May of 2022, we performed 6 concerts over 2 days for every student in the Worthington, Minnesota school system. Worthington is my hometown. Our larger, high-profile concerts usually get all the attention and hype. But now you know why that Worthington project was so important, even more so than our big mainstream concerts. Because it was the realization of a 30-year series of events that we couldn't have imagined or planned on our own. It was part of a grand design. It's very humbling when you stop and think about it. We all have that grand design in our lives. It's just that it's the hardest thing to do is to recognize it, and it's even harder to act on it. But that's where this old time-tested, simple spiritual ceremonies comes in. It still works to this day, and I'm forever thankful that I was able to discover and follow through with my first Hembleciya, the oldest of the Lakota spiritual ceremonies. Thank you for listening to this exploration of the Hembleciya. I hope it provided some insight and respect for the journey it represents. For those who seek understanding, let's remember the importance of cultural respect, curiosity, and openness as we learn more about the many rich traditions of Native America. I'm Paul LaRoche, and this is Hidden Heritage.